Well, according to the ordinance, I think the finance committee's got to,
We won't know about it because.
You know what, then ask the architect that you hired to review the
That's right,
plans.
I would say.
For the, ask the
architect.
architect and ask Jeff.
Yes, exactly. And we could sit there and with our mouth open and go, you know, okay, but I think the two people that are gonna know whether they have the goods are gonna be Morris, who was excellent, and I think Jeff. I think there's a, and,
Or maybe even we could get Molly Ocean, who's an engineer and incredibly intelligent, who might do it for us at no cost. I don't know, that might be asking too much,
But to review some resumes, she might do it. And Don, honestly, I think, based on your comments just now, I think you answered the question. Based on the needs of the building department and based on the needs of the village and based on the situation we're at right now with trying to correct all the deficiencies with regards to our floodplain ordinance, we can't afford not to hire a full-time person.
Well, and the other thought is, there's an enormous amount of volunteerism here, and I have spent for 2.5 years, 20 to 30 hours a week. I was in 7 meetings in the last 7 days, which is way too much, and I'm just one of the volunteers. So that's the guy who should be at every single meeting I've ever been to.
right, and some of the other people too.
Yeah,
Right, I mean,
I
not
mean,
just the building
there's
superintendent.
village management at all these meetings, and I'm the resident with other residents, and we have no leadership in the room with us. It's been gone for far too long. And that's
Right,
where we
and, you know,
were.
the building department is good people, but, you know, again, training and direction are two things that are really lacking.
Right.
It's apparent, they're trying hard, they're trying to learn this stuff, but it definitely need a central figure who is very strong on this whole thing, as far as everything Brian talked about.
I'll put the approval on it and then we'll get it.
Okay. Let's see, the trustee Price sent me a whole list of signs, the removal of signs that are no longer there. I think 2 of them are going to be taken care of. The Midlothian laundromat is there now, and actually there's going to be 2 more Dottie's type things in the village apparently, as I understand it. If we get the liquor permits, I don't even know. But the one's going to be over by the old food and liquor over where T-Mobile is. That's going to be one of the old Dottie's things. As long as we're on the subject, a long time ago in a place far, far away, we thought we were going to do enforcement of non-conforming signs. I think we want to revisit that. And, there's a lot of places that they have non-conforming signs. We might want to revisit the ordinance also to see if we want to redo some of that we were talking about. If just me talking, just one thing, but I would strongly recommend that a lot of these big enforcement things, I would think that the code inspector is very busy doing code inspection on a lot of homes and businesses and things like that during the summer, but during the winter they're not as busy, and I would like them to schedule a lot of rental inspections and a lot of other enforcement inspections for the winter when they're not doing it. And I talked to former people about that, they didn't listen to me. I think they should, because they're so darn busy now, they don't have time to do a lot of the other things, but coming up pretty soon, and you can see it's slowing down. Well, it's not really slowing down, because they're trying to get stuff in for the winter. But the bottom line is, in November, December, January, February, they have a lot of time to do a lot of these enforcement things at the pool, so. And as I reported before, the daycare business, still trying to work the kinks out. We have to approve it, the health inspector has to approve it. You know, the building people have to approve it, the health inspector has to approve it, and the state has to come in and approve it. And we're working to try to have a nice, happy ending for everybody.
Trustee LaRue.
Yes, ma'am. Just some updates from the fire departments. We had our ISO rating inspection last week, and Chief Hopper thinks we did a fairly good job. And we don't know the actual result for about another month or so. So I'll let you guys know the outcome of the inspection when we get it. Next week, Chief Hopper will be attending the pre-construction meeting for our new ambulance. So that's ready to go. They have a chassis ready to go, and once the pre-construction meeting is finished, they will put it on the line to get complete, and he thinks we'll have it in hand probably January or February, so that's good news. That's the ambulance that was paid for by the grant. Let's see what else. He was able to sell the breathing air compressor from Station 2 that we approved for sale a while back. They received $4,000 for it, which is pretty good. Let's see. I didn't hear anything back from the attorney about the emergency management agency application or ordinance, so we'll put that on hold until where we get information from them. And our neighborhood watch group is going to have a trick-or-treat bag decorating and costume party at Canute's, October 29th, from 6 to 8 p.m. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Killen.
Back to me. May I ask the mayor a question I asked you yesterday inadvertently? I think was the treasurer's report published?
I didn't get a chance to talk to Mike today. Did the annual treasurer's report ever get published? I thought it did. I don't have any documentation though that proves it.
It was submitted.
It's submitted to
It's
Cook, yeah.
submitted to Cook County, yes.
Was it never
But we
published?
still don't have all of the pieces for the publication.
Because it
which
ties
it all
out to
comes
the
from
audit.
Nice out to the,
Yeah.
we submitted what we had to the state, they said,
And they said that was
good
good enough.
enough.
Got it.
Right.
So is that the whole report
To
though,
the
or
county,
not the whole
sorry.
report?
Pardon?
You said that what you submitted to the state, they said it was good enough, but is
We
it the whole
submitted
report?
to Cook County.
County.
Right.
Where it
But the
goes.
one that has to go in the paper needs the documentation from the audit to back it up. And we don't have the audit completed to be able to back it up what we put in the paper.
Okay, so what you, then, which is the part that goes on the village website? What you just sent to the county, or do we have to also wait until you?
It's gotta be the one we
Complete.
publish.
Huh?
It's gotta be the one that got published.
Yeah.
Gotta be the published.
So, oh, the published one is the one that goes
Without
on?
the
It
audit.
goes in the
Okay.
newspaper, it goes on.
Without the
Okay.
audit, they can't tie up anything with the bonds.
So we have to wait until the audit's done to do it?
Correct.
Okay.
I should find out how that goes. Nicole Baker. I did talk to her about the position of bookkeeping clerk or whatever, and she said that she would accept that position if we asked her. And she did take accounting in college, but she was an accountant, so we had to train her. That won't happen until after she comes back from leave, which, the other question I had was, she's going to be taking a leave. I believe she gave me a leave information today, sometime in November for 12 weeks. I think in my conversation with a few of the trustees, they would like to be able to have Nicole help them with some of their work as she's been doing right along, doing some of the work and the clerical and the background work that we don't have time for. I don't know if that's a possibility, no or not.
I would prefer that we check with the attorney on that, because especially with being the FMLA
She
leave and
requested
things like
it.
that. Right, I'm just saying, due to that, I would want to get the lawyer's opinion on whether or not you can use her
So
part-time.
I will take that.
That's fine.
Okay. Safety committee, interesting safety committee. Gene Bartecki did some homework. We've been talking about crosswalks for a long time and students crossing at places that didn't have crosswalks. And she did some homework on Kilbourne, Costner, and also 145th and Pulaski and 146th and Pulaski. Very surprising results. Kilbourne had two students in the morning, 3 at night. Costner, which we were told, I'm sorry, let me just stop right there. Jamie Patempa, our former chairman, submitted letter of resignation. Actually, he is going to take over because he has another charity job. He is actually going to take over the Toys for Tots spread. So they both had meetings at the same day, and he can't come to ours. But he did a lot of good work. He was a very valuable member of the safety committee, and we're very sad to see him go. But anyway, back to our crosswalk. Costner was 0, but 145th was 10.
Yeah.
10, basically both times. 146th in Pulaski, the crossing that is by McDonald's. 50 kids and 10 adults in the morning, and I think more coming home. No crossing guard, no crosswalk. So, you know, the safety committee did not make a formal recommendation on that, but they certainly are concerned about the safety of those people. One of the suggestions was, short of getting crossing guards out there, is it possible that we can have the CSO out there in the morning and afternoon to facilitate crossing? I don't know, but if that's possible, that would be good, because that car would actually be a good safety device for them.
Would it be better to direct them to the traffic light and have them cross at the
They
traffic
won't-
light
they
instead of the
won't
middle
go.
of the road?
They won't go. They'll
We've been
cross.
through this.
We've been through this, you can't stop them from crossing, they cross one way or the other.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And so, and not only that, but sometimes during the winter, the snow makes it impassable. You can't get to it, or vice versa. So would the CSO be available in the long run? We'd like to have a crosswalk with a cup, maybe a plunger. Carl's got some ideas about giving crossing guards lighted signs or some such thing, the possibility, but and maybe facilitating where we could have, probably, if we don't have a CSO, we probably need 2 crossing guards, one on both sides. Seems to the question was from the safety committee, Reggie, do we need the crossing guard at Kilburn? It wasn't one of the questions from the safety committee, do we need the crossing guard at Kilburn? Wasn't that? Okay.
Because there is a light there.
There is a light there, and there's a whole 2 people, where there's, you know, so the bottom line is, what can we do? We've been very lucky, people haven't got run over. So, I mean, there's cross traffic for McDonald's and all across. That's super dangerous. So, I mean, they sit on the median, but still, that doesn't mean they're gonna not get run over. But what can we do about that?
If I could let you
Yes.
guys know about something, I spent a lot of time in Burlington, Wisconsin during the summers, and in their downtown area, there is a long stretch of a very busy street that, you know, where traffic lights, you know, there's a long distance between traffic lights for traffic control. So what the city of Burlington did was, they put in a sign stand on the sidewalk on both sides of the street, and there's a painted crosswalk, and it's a pedestrian crossing, and if the pedestrian comes to that area and they want to cross there, they hit the button on the sign, and both sides, the sign lights up on both sides of the street, warning cars that they have to stop. It's like a lit up stop sign, that they have to stop to let people cross, and it's a busy street like Pulaski. So, to your point of having a CSO person in the morning and the afternoon with a stop sign that lights up, perhaps maybe we could look at something permanent there for all residents to be able to cross there all the time versus just Monday through Friday during the school day.
The only thing is
And it's a permanent, like I said, it's a permanent sign that's mounted to the sidewalk, and it lights up, and there is a painted we'd have to paint a crosswalk across Pulaski, but the signs light up, the signs would be on the west side and the east side of the street, and then both sides of the sign would light up, so traffic from both directions would have to be required to stop.
question is, do we have to get, we have to ask this question for crosswalks, do we just paint them, or do we have to get approval from either IDOT or Cook County?
I think we were told we have to paint them.
Well, I understand, but
We have to paint the
they
existing ones, we can't add.
that's what I'm asking, see, that's the biggest problem, at 146, there's no crosswalk.
Right.
So can we,
We probably have to contact the Cook
Cook
County
County,
Highway
yes,
Department.
yes,
and ask
yes.
for
You'd have to get
permission.
permission, but yeah, you definitely would have to paint this, painting there.
or what, but do we have to wait?
No, I would say we could contact Chief Kaufman and see if our CSO is available.
It would then also require us to redo the median, because now we've told them this is now an official crosswalk, but it's an unsafe crosswalk because there's curbs there, so that would have to be redone too. It's not just as simple as painting white lines on the street, getting approval, there's more to it than that.
There's a rate,
Yeah, because the median is raised, so it has to be straight through. But we can start that process, that's a great process, but in the meantime,
I will speak to
you want,
I was gonna say, can you
Okay.
talk to Chief and see if he's available in the morning and in the afternoon?
Jane, what time?
I would say probably start getting here maybe 10 to 8.
7:30 to 8:30.
7:30 to 8:30 is when I got there. And when I got there at 7:30, there weren't really that many kids, but by a quarter to 10 to, there were a lot. And they just don't cross there. They cross in front of the laundromat. You know, so, I mean, they just cross like all over there. So it really means something needs to be before someone gets hurt.
Okay.
What about the afternoon, Jane?
Afternoon, it was about the same.
What time-wise?
School gets out, I think at what, 2:20 or something, so I would say from 2:20 to maybe 3:15 or something.
2:35.
Oh,
So 2 to 3 probably.
So what time?
2 to 3? Did they get up at early 2?
3:15.
What time did they get up?
She said 2:20.
2:45.
Central
Oh.
Park? Well, we're, nobody from
it's-
Central Park's gonna be
Yeah.
crossing it.
No,
on.
but, and they all get out at the same time, right?
Okay.
They
Yeah,
get
they
out of
all
school
get
at
out
2?
at the same time.
Okay, they got out of school at 2:45, so it should be
2:45, 3:45.
2:30.
2:30, 3:30.
At 2:30 to,
2:33.
Oh, you just-
Central. Okay.
There you go.
Let's be doing 12.
Okay. Last but not least, I hate to mention that word Linder Avenue, but, again, some of the residents had a petition, sent us a petition to get rid of the speed bumps we put in last year, because they didn't like them. They asked us to survey the residents of that area, Midlothian residents, to find out what their preference was. The safety committee sent a letter and a survey to Midlothian residents in that area. And also, we sent out, I don't know if this was intentional, but probably I think it might have been a good idea, the unincorporated residents on the other side of the street, they also use that street. They use the Midlothian water. That's
Thank you.
and the safety committee's letter said basically the majority vote is what they're going to recommend to the board. Not that the board has to accept that, but that was what they thought they should recommend. It seemed like everything was fine. We already got some response on that. I got a letter today from the gentleman who submitted the, email today from the gentleman who submitted the petition to us, Mr. Zeman, who told me that I told them that we were only going to survey houses that were between the two speed bumps. I never said that. He said that. And for what you know, it's everybody uses the street. Why would we do it between two speed bumps? Second of all, he questioned why we surveyed the non-Midlothian residents. We figured, you know, to get an opinion as far as what they feel too, because they use the street also. He basically was not too nice, and he threatened that some sort of lawsuit. But, you know, basically, he sent it to you. I don't know if I talked to him, he's been to the meetings, he's okay, but today he was, I don't know why, he feels that for some reason threatened by this, but I think for that 2-block area, I think it's important to get all people who live in that two-block area, both sides, even if they're not. Because it's to get a good section of, well, is it a problem or isn't it a problem? So, that feedback, I think, for the next safety committee meeting, we'll tally it, give it to the board, and do you want to call Mr. Zeman and say hi?
Yeah,
You know,
sure.
What's going on?
Yeah, I'll get my buzz.
Okay, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Mazel.
Yes, I just have one item. This evening, I received an email from Chief Kaufman today. I'm taking this moment to ask if you could bring to the board for approval of sending our next sergeant to staff and command school. This class is well-diversified class that our supervisors should be going through. The class is an in-depth training which covers topics such as decision-making, contemporary policing, project management, community policing, human resources, employee relations, planning and policies, etc. I realize this class is expensive, but it is a highly recommended course for all police supervisors. It is an upper management grad class offered through Northwestern University, which is one of the top-rated colleges in the country. It is a 10-week class. The cost of the class is $3,650. Please advise me as well, and if possible, place it on the agenda for approval as the class is filling up and time is short. So I asked Chief Kaufman because I know at least two of our command staff have been through this, have been to a class before. We have three of our sergeants who have not attended the class. He would like to, in consideration of the budget and our financial situation, he would like to only send one a year, and he would do it based on seniority. So he has asked the board to consider this. So I would ask you to put this on the agenda. If there's any questions or concerns, I will.
The only question I had, we're gonna make this an investment, I wanna make sure the employee isn't going to leave.
That's why I asked how he was gonna decide who it was, and he said he's gonna do it based on seniority. I can do some more probing on that.
Just that we get an agreement that if they leave within a certain amount of time, they can pay us. I just think if we make an investment,
What's the amount of time that you think you'll
I don't know. Obviously, this is a more valuable employee once they go through this class.
Should be 2 or 3 years.
I'm just going it up there.
How much is
$3,650. And I know this is the first of these such requests or regulations. I've been back at police, and I don't think we had one last year or the year before.
Or if they leave, they have to reimburse us within an X amount of time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, maybe within 30 days or something like
No,
that.
longer
No,
than
no,
that.
longer than
Longer
30 days.
that.
Years.
Longer than that, at least, they would have to stay at least a year or 2 years. Maybe run it by the chief and get his opinion, but I think that's something we need, that we need to make sure we have something, if they leave within a certain amount of time, that they have to reimburse us.
Okay, I can do that. Depending on what he says, I will ask the attorney to draft something up. That is all I have tonight.
Could I jump in here? Something was missing from the agenda that I submitted. And it was my understanding now, if we wanted to have something considered at the next, at the board meeting, we had to have it on the agenda, is that correct?
Or at least 48 hours, I thought.
I thought it needed to be on the agenda.
I thought it was 48 hours prior to the meeting.
We had to have the documentation. I thought if we were gonna discuss it, or vote on it, it needed to be, Don, help me with this.
Well, it had to be discussed at the committee meetings, I think, as we discussed. We decided.
Okay, but I did have something on here that did not make it on the agenda. It was the memorandum of understanding for the Complete Streets Grant. So I will get everybody a copy. This has been signed by Ron Burke, the executive director of the Active Transportation Alliance, and it's what they call the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. I'll get everybody a copy so the mayor can execute it at the next board meeting. We are already very deep into this project, but this needs to be executed. And that's all I have.
Can I jump in? One thing I missed, I passed out the things. These are the savings in our charge card fees by going to PSF. They're substantial over what Civic Plus is processor, yes, tremendous savings. Look at the savings on the first line, and average savings per month is $1,939. And that's even including the darn,
Don, we can't hear you.
what'd you say?
Close
We
the door.
can't hear you.
Why don't we close the door?
Can you move your microphone closer to your mouth? Okay.
No wonder you didn't hear.
Are they on?
The average savings for PSN were $1,939 per month.
Per month?
Per month, and that even includes the blasted Metro tickets, which we pay a very high rate for because they're always $1.25. We pay through the nose for that. I asked, again, Nicole's investigating if there's any way around that. We don't think there is, but we're just looking at it. They're asking the people total parking or whatever it was that did this originally, if there's any other way around that. If there's, some sort of monthly thing, but they don't think so given the software there is. But there's a tremendous savings that Nicole and Alan worked together on to get this for us. So thanks to both of them. It's turned out to be a great savings for the village. And it will continue to save us more the more is processed on the website, especially water payments, things like that. So, sorry. Thank you.
Okay. All right, under my business, the bond audit update, we've been working very closely with Pro Horwath. We do believe we are at the final stretch. We actually plan on calling Edita from their office tomorrow and saying, we have found what we can. We're down to like maybe 10 items we cannot locate. They're just going to have to accept the fact that we cannot locate the documentation they're looking for. They feel pretty confident that once they close it out, we'll have a report pretty shortly after that. And I did check with John George. He says as soon as that report is available, he'll meet with us to give us a timeline on how fast he can get our audit done so we can get everything else caught up to date. So that's what I know so far. So I'm hoping maybe sometime next week we might even have the bond audit complete, so, and have their recommendations or whatever. As I stated earlier, next week I'll be looking for the approval of Robinson Engineering for the CAV compliance. This will be not to exceed $4,000. Commonwealth Edison has reached out to us. They have a plan going on right now that 11 communities are getting new LED lights to replace the vapor lights that are currently in place. They said that this will save us $11,000 a year by just having this done. It's a no cost to the village at all, so it's kind of like a freebie. But I did send the paperwork to the attorney to have him look it all over and make sure it is, anytime it's free, it always kind of worries me.
Robinson too. Just to see what the lights are giving us, because sometimes the lights are.
Right.
Part of the LED thing is that there's less maintenance.
Right.
Unless they give us lights that are cheap.
Right.
Right.
Okay. All right, well, I'll make sure we're getting good lights then. How's that? I'm still waiting for Robert Half to send me the documentation on their letterhead, so I should have that.
Can I go back to this? Where will we maintain, we have to maintain lights in the comment poles?
No,
No, streetlights.
street lights.
These are streetlights.
Well,
We have to replace the lights.
right, we get the metal poles and comment gets the wood poles.
Wood poles.
Yeah, something like that, right?
It's one or the other, I know we.
So-
ComEd has the wood poles. I learned about it
Right.
yesterday at Crestwood's
And we
meeting. They talked
maintain-
about it in depth and that I think it's like
Metal.
$300 per pole,
Yeah,
but there is no cost to the village, yes.
right.
And they, yes, will install. The one thing that stood out though, they suggested the lights actually could cost us more in the long run on maintenance kind of thing, that they'd last
LED
longer.
On LEDs?
The structure of the light pole itself apparently, and again, I have a video you'll be
Well,
able
that's
to
a
go
good
watch.
reason to
it.
give it to Robinson, yeah, that's exactly, okay.
I'll
Everything I was told was the opposite, but.
I'll run it past Jeff. So I will try to get the rest of the information about Maggie so we can hopefully move forward with her appointment to treasurer. The last.
I guess, I just actually had, after you sent me this, Mayor, I ran some numbers, and you had originally said what the commission was, and then this was different. So I'm wondering if we should talk about a strategy to have her work for them, to maybe reduce the commission, not putting us at risk, and then hire her.
What is the difference here?
It's 5%. If we keep her for, I think it's 300 hours, it was a little over 7 weeks. If we didn't hire her out of Robert Half for 7.5 weeks, we'd get an extra 5% off.
Well, the percentage decreases based on how long she works for Robert Half, and I run the numbers. So, and I don't know if anybody else, you've shared this information with anybody else, or if anybody else has had time to review it and come up with the same questions I have. Am I the only one that
So
was?
what's the
What's the
commission,
difference?
what's the commission at 0 to 300 hours? 25%.
25%, which is $15,000.
25% should be.
Which you originally said, I think the commission
I
was
thought it was 20.
12,000.
I thought it was 20%, not 25.
Okay.
And at the end.
And the next one is 20.
Okay, then it goes from 25% to 20% to 15% to 10%. So,
10%, you're recommending the 10%?
well, no, what I did was, I'm not recommending anything. I think we should maybe consider this for 2 reasons. Well, actually, the biggest, two reasons. A, to save on the commission, but B, it then puts us at way less risk if for some reason she leaves.
But isn't the payment to Robert Half more than what her salary would be if the village hired her?
Yeah, that's what I was just looking at,
Yeah.
on a monthly basis.
So I think the
No, I ran the
commission
numbers
kind of
out.
offsets that, doesn't it?
I ran if I did this right, I ran the numbers. Here, I'll show you what I did. You tell me if I'm off. So what I did was, if we hired her at the max, right? Where did I get the, oh, this was the difference between 9,000 would be at, should have made notes here.
9,000 is the 15%.
Is it 50%?
38, 20.
Yeah, I figured it out here. The difference is
Yeah, 9,000
9.5 an hour.
is 15%.
Okay, so if we hired her at the 15%, kept her 451 hours, then the difference is 6,000 from the 15. And you take the 935 times the 451 hours, and I think you come up with 4,216. So the difference, the savings is 1,784. Does that make sense? You see what I
Savings
did?
is what?
1,784.
$1,784.
Uh-huh. And, but if you get down to the 10%, then the commission is only 6,000. And the difference is
Yeah,
5619.
the billing rate is a loaded rate with.
Well, I understand that, I'm just trying to get the difference, and the savings then would be 3381. The longer she worked for them, the more we would save. Do you follow my
The
logic?
less we save.
The more we would save on the commission.
Right.
Which
But
would put us less at risk.
Paying the higher rate every month.
We're paying higher rates.
But we're still saving money. We are still saving money. So it's just something I thought about. Because we had this thing, what if she leaves, and how do we recover the money?
Well, and I had told you, Karen, that we could write a contract, and she said she would be willing to sign it, that if she left, say, before next May, because that would be when we reappoint her anyways, would be next May, she would then reimburse, plus attorney fees, any commission we paid to Robert Half. She agreed that she would sign that kind of agreement with us.
And I guess that's okay, except the problem becomes if she doesn't have the money, then we have to sue her. And so there's no guarantee. You sign a contract, and we all know, contract really doesn't mean a lot of things.
So Robert Half doesn't have a contract to sign with the village?
No.
That is just amazing.
So we pay her $40 an hour and wait for the commission to get down to 10%.
Right.
We still end up saving money.
And still don't have a turn.
No, we would still, we would still save money. But again, the big point is protecting the village, because You pay them, and what if she leaves? That was my concern.
We've had 2 other treasurers that were more than qualified to do the job, and there's no guarantee, no matter who I put in that spot.
I understand, but we didn't pay a commission. That was my whole thing. So I'm again, and I think she's doing a fine job. She's been incredibly responsive when I've asked her for information. I do have to say that. She's dug in when I've asked her questions. So I'm just giving the board another option, and it's just another option.
I would just like to move forward and have a treasurer finally back in place in the village so we can function as the village is supposed to be functioning. Maggie is highly qualified, she knows villages, she's got every qualification we were asking for in the job description. I think she's doing a wonderful job. She's willing to sign a contract saying she doesn't want to leave, she wants to stay. I'd like to guarantee that we're not going to drive her away from us. That's the guarantee I'd like.
So that we're saving the $3,000.
I just want to make sure Maggie's here. Right now, we botched this up once already. I don't want to botch it up twice. I don't know. I mean,
We can't,
Maggie is very qualified. She wants to sign the contract for a year. To me, I would go with that rather than try to chase her away and try to figure out, for her to have the perception that we're not professional enough, and maybe she should keep on looking. She'll take the job now, but maybe she should keep on looking for a place that is more, knows what's going on. I mean, it's money. I know it's money, but she's worth, to me, she's worth a lot. I mean, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I was impressed when we talked to her. I think she does have the qualifications we were looking for, and a number of our neighboring communities pay a whole lot more than we offer. So I agree, we need somebody in the spot. I take Karen's concern seriously. I mean, I agree we should have a way to get some type of recourse if she's not personally able to repay it. And we're in a position where we may have to spend money to litigate or back to Robert Half and give it to someone else, but I don't want to scare her away either.
And that's not my intent to scare her away. My intent is to protect the village.
Can I ask you a question? If you take the salary that was offered to Maggie, if you broke it down on a per hour basis, and you compare it to the hourly rate that the village paid to Robert Half, is it equal? Is the village's rate of pay less than what the village pays to Robert Half?
Yes.
yes.
Okay, then isn't that, if we hire her sooner at the lower rate of pay,
Yeah.
wouldn't that offset the commission?
That's
I
the
worked
math.
it all.
Yeah, that's the math that Karen did. Essentially, we'd have to keep her, I think, just over like 3 months
Okay.
at 40 hours a week. We would be paying more
Mhm.
in salary,
Okay.
but lowering the
So
commission.
the payback period is essentially 3 months?
Well, it depends. There's different payback periods based on the commission.
You could keep her longer and continue to lower the commission.
Well, I will be asking for her appointment next week, and hopefully the board can come to a consensus that we can move forward with this. The last thing I have.
Will she have a contract?
Yes. The last thing I have on my list that is not on the agenda, but I had this email received late this afternoon. I received an email that there's a House Bill 4305 that is in the Finance Chair Committee down in Springfield, and that is to order the release of our 911 gaming and MFT money. It did pass. It's going to go for a third reading. The House and Senate wouldn't hear this until sometime early November, and Governor Rauner's suggestion is if anybody needs their money from 911 gaming or MFT, why doesn't the state just issue them low-interest loans till we decide we're going to get a budget? And
We shouldn't have to borrow our own darn money.
that's what I said. That's exactly what I
ridiculous.
said.
What bill number? 40?
Please watch House Bill 4305. That's just releasing our money that belongs to us. So, but they will be looking at it at the beginning of November. So, that's all I have for this evening. Clerk Colstead, anything?
I have nothing at this point.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, with everything done this evening at 9:14, I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.
My butt.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you again, Chris.
Oh, yeah, and sort of the background.
Walmart have.
Oh, and not all, one of my favorites. Will you be home tomorrow at 5?
As far as I know.
Because Maureen will come to sign the sheet tomorrow, and I will be leaving at like 5:15.
Yeah.
So I was saying, if you're home, she can go to your house.
Yeah, that'd be fine. I wanted to ask Alan. I wanted to ask Alan.
Then I was paramedic for a couple years.
Yeah.
When you know what's don't know.
I'm just saying that I only have flooding.
Yeah.
And here I didn't know if it was gonna be certified.
You know how you had to but then what's the other angle? Well,
And I don't know how.
San Francisco's guys go for, we send a lot more. I think there's a stand, I think only every year. We'll do something different.
No question, I don't know what happened.
Well, I get too much.
Because all of that,
That's a good way.
so complicated. It can get
Oh,
so complicated, really.
Yeah, that was, I did get a hold of that.
So, you know, you did a lot of. But my dad was where they were towns like
Well, and then we had a couple ideas, we were gonna send you some stuff to see if there's any interest too, because like Sarah was talking about like, we got some Durban. I was thinking we were gonna send you something, so we were interested.
Yeah, I would like to. I wrote
Everything that we want to send you, it was very exciting. Right, we can't sign it in this building, correct? Okay.
I got smoke. I got smoke.
Oh, then I want to
Very certain ordinance
I did, I took
And that chain of evidence is what I was saying. Chain of evidence.
He was here at West Tech, he gave a really nice speech about it, and I do have pictures with him.
If I met amended through ordinance.
work on it tomorrow. I was gonna work on it today, but we wound up working on the rain garden.
I'm too also limited.
We can have the laws and basic, different variations as they came along. So, I mean, it's not, again, that's garbage. I really get the. I want. You want to identify.
Yeah, excellent.
Because up until recently, even the charge players, we get, and Don, you know, I'm saying about this, but I have my minus page.
I'll send you something and they should do me my way, and if you
It'll
don't,
go
you know.
until it's going maybe 2009,
Maybe something.
Our municipal
Tons of
paper
interest,
But
because
the money
we've been
says
working
that,
on
I
lots
watched
of
not
stuff.
says that.
they have one exception in market.
Because,
Which
right
means,
now,
I think it was only like 4
what we did
inches.
last Sunday, I'm trying to merge all of the, community committees.
So my point's here,
So we're trying to
we don't
put
want the
things together
website.
now.
They have a disclaimer
So
on
we
their
did
site.
a really fun thing last Sunday, I called it a boot camp, and we did a bike walk run together, because we were trying
Whether
to
it's
look
in-house,
at,
you know, maybe
projects
pretty enough,
that we
you know,
were
we're
doing
on
there.
with
But what we
the
want
streets
and what's
and
in the movie.
A bump out is where, you know, you drive down the
well, I'm
street.
on so many committees right now, Parks and Trails,
Because
they
they
also,
also,
in
in
the
addition
city,
to other
Parking's
parties,
like right up
this
there,
is
bump
the
out,
audit.
and then it gets
Because
narrower.
we are
and
still
then
so
you
we
charge
were
your
for
full
payers to some
force.
degree.
what they told us our
And
challenge is all the collaboration with the agencies.
But
So
as
my
a
thought was
in the
that
past,
we
we
gotta
maybe
start collaborating with
position,
community
especially
committees.
even now.
So we're trying to work on this, and that was, oh, there was, oh, no, no,
Don't give me garbage.
but I'll work on it tomorrow.
Yeah,
That's what we're trying to work on in
Certainly when asked you, it's a pay per page for 1.5
This, I might
inches.
have to wait till the
Margin.
next meeting to
And
verify,
the other
you
thing
know.
is they
Right.
codifying law.
Okay,
They put
Thanks.
under Title I, and I
what was
shared
that
this
guy's
one,
name?
the bond notification,
Brian
Act,
Berger.
Title I,
Brian,
Chapter 1, Section
EMER, he's from Illinois Department
Bond
of Rural
notification has
Resources.
nothing to do with the municipal
EMER.
code book.
oh,
The
okay, and
instant they
Brian is
codified it on this page, they modified
BRI.
that page. That page should have never changed.
because nowadays,
No need, because
how
that
they
is
spell
title and section.
They sound,
oh, yeah, like
I know.
when the way it was spelled, I thought it was a foreign language when they were.
well, those Gaelic spellings, they don't look anything like they sound.
No.
And in the future, anytime you're.
I'll never understand some of that.
The page they would have.
Is this still on?
To begin with.
But it's.
Now we have, I guess, the so if I'm suggesting not showing all this, I don't want to.
Certified digital
Where did she
copy,
go?
some of that one gives to
Who?
us was supposed to be reviewed. It could have changed. It could have changed because
Oh,
of
this
the
one.
as far as mistakes. They, you know, all the publishers theoretically have lawyers review to make sure that it's okay, so we don't know what we submitted to them is exactly the form.
But that's part of what the onus is doing, having a digital version. Not the one we put on the website, got it? The one that we have on paper. Until we can double check what's on paper via computer, the rest of it is done, and it's an insult. And it has been for years. So again,
So you want us to check all the ordinances against what's online?
I will go ahead and do it if that's what it takes, but if Don,
That's a lot.
would you really sit there and give me an eye roll after everything I've shared with you
No,
for
I
over the
understand,
past
that's a
almost
lot.
10 years? Whatever, I don't care. We need to get it done. I've been finished with this situation long before Morowski came along, let alone the idea last night I was even threatened by Crestwood not to videotape their meeting. I'm finished with my government blockading things. So, please,
You
at
just
least,
want to make sure that what they put in there conforms exactly to what we gave.
yes, and what's on our paper book, as what Jerry was doing.
Something is not missing.
Yes, and what Jerry was working on with that building department, he was doing it manually. And I said, Jerry, if I could just get the digital version, I think I showed you, I know how to break it out per line.
Do you think they put all the paper documents they got on a digital copy? I mean, what makes you
Wait,
think?
what do you?
I mean, we give them a paper copy.
Yes, you give them a
Well,
paper
Oh,
copy
we
of
give
the
them
ordinance.
oh, yeah.
Right.
I know what's being done now.
Right.
I don't know what happened in 1963.
No, we're not at 63,
But
oh, go ahead.
That's
sorry.
where the
Wasn't
book
it?
starts,
Right.
Yes,
okay? To where they took whatever the code was up until 1963 and moved forward.
yes.
Because you look at the book and the book says 1963.
And that's part of where they sabotaged it, because that was irresponsible and illegal. They should have never done it, because watch this twist. That same Title I, Section 1, or Chapter 1, Section 1, if you take a look, it's properly codified. It says 1932, Ordinance 1. They had no right, none, to sit there and delete, as you said, everything that they culminated and put together, and just write 1963 code. They were obligated to cite every ordinance that triggered everything, and again, those are
It depends
bigger.
on what they were instructed to do
Agreed.
also.
That's what I'm saying. Don't worry about 1963. I'm worried about Mr. Eber. You know, and by the way, thank you for telling me, right? She went ahead and was really cool with them, and I appreciate that, by the way. And I appreciate the change. But in the meantime, look, it's all tied in with, again, what he was offering up, and I don't want us to fall behind anymore. I want us to be
Well,
leaders.
according to what we read, you said the ordinances we have are very good.
Yes, but they're still improperly codified. They can't share a title, and they do. They're a subsection. You can't have that. And I showed you a while ago, I believe, and if I didn't, I apologize. But I thought I had shared with you how the numbering system went skewed. Remember with fences, where all of a sudden fences became 11A, 11B. Those are improper codifications. And that's what part of what Brian had cited. So again, without the digital version that matches our paper, we can't double check stuff. Our paper version, you know, the
Paper
keeping the...
ordinances that we have in the safe.
No. I'm talking the actual codified book.
Oh, but how do we know that's right?
That's my point. That's what the digital certified copy helps us start.
We have to go through the limits in the safe, because we don't know for sure if they.
No, she's talking about the paper book that,
Yeah, that we have right
the
now.
books that we have.
Right, like the one that's at the library where when they
There's
read
10
it.
copies,
Right.
10 copies.
So we
Right.
compare that to,
Right.
we compare that to,
First, we just have to take that one document and analyze it as is. Then yes, I can break it down, as you know, I'm good at spreadsheets and stuff. We can break it down into any category where we can extrapolate any ordinance that may be under question. You know, let's say the storm ordinances, as we've been discussing, are under question. Through a spreadsheet, I can quickly make you a list. That way you're not going through, as you suggested, that whole vault. You know what I mean? Because we are stranded. Sterling screwed us in 1962 and 1963. I did read the contract that you did give me. In turn, though, forget about 63. I'd rather, again, I want us to be leaders so desperately. I do, because I believe in this so bad. So please, at least reconsider what I'm asking for, and I hope you better understand it. If you don't,
yeah,
Don,
I don't think Sterling will ever give us your copy.
But see, and that's where I got the problem, and you said you would be more than happy to ask Attorney Gleason to send the letter, and I said, hold off. Let me try and talk with my village clerk one more time, because I believe in Mike. I can say, I talked to Mike yesterday and had no problems. Well, none that I was aware of, but you know what I'm saying. Meaning, I've had no real issues. We'll differ on positions. That's a done deal. But I didn't want Gleason stirring up stuff when at least I felt for the moment. The village clerk, he shouldn't be held up at all. He should be able to pick up the phone and call them, and you had agreed, and you were ready to have the attorney go after him. They have no right to hijack. We own that digital copy. That's what we paid for, not the web version. I'm talking the version they use to print. And they do that because they lock in, and we talked about this, and you mentioned that somehow, I can't remember when, you know, don't want to lose us as a client.
So you want a word copy of
Identical to the
of
paper.
code book
Yeah. And I
that
promise you I
that we
will.
have in print.
And I promise I will do every skill I've got at my fingertips.
To make sure.
But they may not have that in a Word document.
What other software could they possibly be using?
I have no idea. They might have a proprietary software that they're using to produce.
Then watch this, I know. Yeah, we're going Lotus this time. Multimate, I don't know if you guys will remember Multimate, but let's go with that version.
No.
Okay, so.
But I would put to you
That's
that
what-
they have no right whatsoever to withhold any of that information in any capacity. And if they wrapped it into proprietary, that's my argument about Civic Plus. Civic Plus has no right to charge us $250 to download content we added to their site because of their proprietary stuff. Same thing with Sterling. We pay them to care for this. They don't get to sit here and hold it back and say, well, unless you pay us. To me, that's nothing less of ransom, let alone a hijacking. And they're basically blackmailing us, saying either you pay us for these copies or you get nothing because we're not giving you the digital.
So your copy is some sort of Word type document of the.
With the margins and everything.
Of the book that we have right now.
Right, so that way, look, what will happen is this, we can
What do
cite,
we do with that?
we can then go ahead and begin, for example, let's say Jerry's work that he's doing for the building department in you. You now can cite by page number, not by code,
Right.
by page number even, where people can turn to. You understand every second off of this will save us in the long run. So again, I wish I could give you the long list, but at least this is the starting list.
And then you also make sure that everything matches up as far as numbers.
And as I said, I even have two different
Well,
versions.
Codebook has an index also.
That's not an index though, it doesn't reference, watch this, if you look to the back, what it is they alphabetize the table of contents. That's not an index. That's why the version I gave you guys was an honest index. I drove it off of keywords. And I can do that for you guys. Microsoft Word is great that
So
way.
in other words, you look at the back of it, you want to look at the special
Keyword,
type
why?
thing.
Why
Rather
do
than
you
having to
do
do it
it?
on the well, most people can do it by computer, but.
But we're not in the ordinary circumstance right now. Our whole code book needs help. You know, the thing across the board. So again, I'm just offering a
So
starting.
in other words, you would take that and try to line it up.
Line it up, index it up, give you,
And
I can pop that out and put it into a database format per line. And I'll quote you at least less than 3 hours. As long as my phone's not ringing. If my phone rings or my kids come around, I might have longer. But again, I'm committed to this and I'm willing to stick it through. But for me to spend time on that web version, which I've done, but to spend any more time is a joke. Because it won't help any of us. I can't point you to a page. You know what I mean? I can't point you places, and especially if they don't match you. Even it is part of the trouble. So I don't know, did I do better in explaining to you? Because for me, this is such a large issue I've been carrying for almost 9 years now. So it's very difficult sometimes to distill it down. So that's why I figured, okay, after listening to Brian, I'll try one more time. You and me, we had no problems yesterday, but I feel that strongly. We can't do this without that. Anything less is a joke. If we work off that web version, what happens if we've got in our paper version something that doesn't match? The staff is going out for the paper version, but citizens are going off of, and then they have to call you, because remember on the website it does recommend call Village Hall, to confirm. And then the resident ends up getting pissed at you, which wasn't your fault, because you weren't the one that put it on the website, and you have to go correct.
So when you correct it,
Well, I'm not correcting
when you
anything.
line it up, what do you expect to happen?
If I knew, then I wouldn't even be asking to get the chance to do it. I have no idea other than the piles I have
Then you give
forwarded.
it back to Sterling and tell them that?
No, I wouldn't give anything to I told you, I want a refund starting from back in 1963. No joke, by the way, I do want a refund.
So you
Starting
would give
back in
You would give
1963.
it to another poster.
And you had looked into both
We
AmLegal
already got
and Unicode,
Got
and you
it.
saw the example, at least through Unicode, through Chicago Heights it was, where, and if you're looking for an example, I would
I
offer
was
you.
looking at other codebooks.
Chicago Heights actually is a really good one, because they also have one other thing that, again, Sterling disconnected. It's called a supplemental index. Now, in 1963, that's what they were obligated to do. They were obligated to list their methodology, as to how they built the book, and they were obligated to have a supplemental index. So every time an ordinance was updated, goes on that index, goes on that index. Chicago Heights had it, we don't. And that's Unicode, by the way. And there's other companies too besides AmLegal and,
Providers, they will-
right, that's AmLegal, yes, and then Unicode, and then there's still a few other ones.